A train faster than a jet, gliding above the tracks without ever touching them. It can connect cities in minutes. And it's not science fiction. China's building it right now. But here's the part nobody's talking about. China just unveiled something that could make our fastest trains look like toys. A prototype Maglev train that could hit 1,000 kilometers per hour. That's faster than most airplanes. It's not just a leap in transportation. It's a reboot of how humans live, build, and connect. Because imagine this, traveling from Beijing to Shanghai, over 1,300 kilometers away, in under 2 hours. No takeoffs, no traffic, just pure levitation at jet speed. But there's a massive catch. And depending on how this unfolds, it could either change the world or become the most expensive transportation failure in history. Is this the beginning of a travel revolution, or a billion-dollar risk no one's ready for? So how does this thing even move? No engines, no wheels, just magnetism. Maglev stands for magnetic levitation, a concept that sounds futuristic, but has been in development for decades. Instead of traditional wheels and rails, the Maglev train floats above its track, suspended by a magnetic field and pushed forward by powerful linear motors. And since there's no physical contact, there's no friction, which means insane speeds become possible. Japan's L0 series already does this. In 2015, it hit 603 kilometers per h during a test run, a world record that still stands. But China isn't aiming for records. It's aiming for revolution. Their prototype, developed by the state-owned CRRC Corporation, is designed for 1,000 kilometers per h, nearly double the speed of Japan's Maglev. To get there, it won't just rely on levitation. It will need to run through near-vacuum tubes, minimizing air resistance to unlock ultra-high speeds. Think Elon Musk's Hyperloop, but faster, bigger, and backed by the world's second-largest economy. This system combines superconducting magnets with vacuum infrastructure, using linear synchronous motors to generate both lift and propulsion. The physics checks out, but making it safe, scalable, and affordable is a completely different story. Because the farther you push speed, the more cost and complexity explode. Building a train that floats isn't the hard part, not anymore. What's hard is building a world it can survive in. Let's start with the tracks, because you can't run a 1,000 kilometers per h Maglev on normal rails. Not even close. China's prototype uses a special vacuum tube track system, which means the entire route must be enclosed in giant tubes that remove most of the air. The goal? Eliminate drag, the biggest enemy of high-speed travel. Less air means more speed. But here's the crazy part. These vacuum tubes need to be hundreds of kilometers long, straight as a laser, and perfectly aligned. Even the tiniest imperfection at those speeds could be catastrophic. We're talking about tolerances down to millimeters over distances the size of small countries. And then there's stability. At 1,000 kilometers per h, you don't just need fast computers, you need real-time AI that can detect and react to shifts in weight, pressure, and airflow faster than a human can blink. The system has to constantly adjust the levitation gap, keeping the train floating about 10 millimeters above the track without ever touching it. And let's not forget safety. In a normal train, you can hit the brakes. In a Maglev running in a vacuum at 1,000 kilometers per h, there are no brakes in the traditional sense. Emergency stopping requires coordinated power shutdowns, reverse magnetic pulses, and air reintroduction into the tube, all while keeping passengers conscious and alive. Add to that power demands. Running a Maglev at these speeds requires massive energy input. Each station would need a power grid almost as strong as a small city's, and backup systems to handle blackouts, surges, or sabotage. Speaking of sabotage, what happens if someone tampers with the system? What if a tube cracks? What if a sensor fails? The train becomes a 1,000 kilometers per h projectile, a bullet that can't stop. Yet despite all of this, China is moving ahead. One proposed test route could link Beijing and Shanghai, two megacities separated by over 1,300 kilometers. Today, China's high-speed rail covers that trip in about 4.5 hours. A Maglev could do it in under 2, without airports, TSA lines, or delays. But here's the twist. It may never carry passengers at all. Why? Because the tech may prove too costly, too risky, or simply too uncomfortable for the human body to handle. China may end up using it for cargo only, at least at first, shuttling high-value goods between industrial hubs at breakneck speed. Still, that wouldn't make it a failure. It would make it a weapon. If China cracks the 1,000 kilometers per h Maglev first, it won't just change how people move. It'll change how power moves. Let's step back. Why is China investing so heavily in transportation? Because infrastructure is strategy. For the past 20 years, China has used its Belt and Road Initiative to fund roads, railways, and ports around the world. These aren't just investments, they're influence projects. Whoever builds the tracks controls the routes. Now imagine China exporting 1,000 kilometers per h Maglev systems to Southeast Asia, Africa, or Europe. Nations that adopt Chinese tech also adopt Chinese standards, software, and political ties. And it's not just about bragging rights. It's about economic dominance. The country that controls next-gen transportation becomes the hub, the source, the supplier. Everyone else becomes the spoke. Right now, Japan leads in Maglev. Germany invented the original concept. The US? It's watching from the sidelines, stuck in debates over 50-year-old rail infrastructure. But the moment China's Maglev proves viable, expect a race. Because no one, not Washington, not Brussels, not Tokyo, wants to fall behind in a technology that could reshape entire continents. And China knows that. This is why they're racing to file patents, protect their innovations, and secure supply chains. The chips, superconductors, and power systems behind the Maglev are just as important as the train itself. And they're making sure no one else can replicate it easily. If successful, China wouldn't just have the fastest train. It would have a new weapon of diplomacy, selling speed to the world on its own terms. This isn't just about speed, it's a power move on the global chessboard. Here's a question no one's really asking. Can the human body actually handle traveling at 1,000 kilometers per hour on land? It's easy to forget that we're fragile, delicate, not built for supersonic movement without serious protection. On a plane, we hit similar speeds, but it's different. You're 35,000 feet up, gliding through thin air in a pressurized cabin. There's time to accelerate, time to slow down. In a Maglev tube, though, everything happens faster. Acceleration hits harder, pressure changes are sharper, and the margin for error, zero. Let's talk G-forces. To reach 1,000 kilometers per h in a reasonable time frame, say under 5 minutes, passengers would feel sustained G-forces that, while survivable, could cause nausea, disorientation, or blackouts, especially for the elderly, the sick, or kids. Sudden stops? Even worse. Now add in motion sickness from a windowless vacuum tube. No horizon, no external visual reference, just the sensation of hurtling forward at a speed your brain can't process. Claustrophobia? Likely. Panic attacks? Almost guaranteed, unless the cabin experience is engineered like a spa-meets spacecraft hybrid. And then there's the very real question of health screening. Who's allowed to board? Will there be physical fitness requirements like there are for astronauts? What about pregnant passengers? What if someone faints mid-ride? Now let's imagine a more terrifying scenario. Emergency evacuation. A train stops in the middle of a sealed vacuum tube. No air, no exits. You're stuck in a capsule with dozens of strangers. No cell signal, and nowhere to go. How do you get out? How long before air is reintroduced? Who comes to rescue you? And how? These aren't sci-fi hypotheticals. They're real questions engineers and policymakers are still struggling to answer. And if they can't, the 1,000 kilometers per h dream may die before it even begins. It's not just the train that needs upgrading. Humans might too. Every megaproject is a gamble, and this one, it's an all-in bet. Because if China's 1,000 kilometers per h Maglev fails, the consequences won't just be technical. They'll be political, psychological, global. Let's look at the stakes. This project is being funded by a combination of state-owned enterprises, university R&D labs, and strategic government investments. If it collapses, if the train derails, if a vacuum tube cracks, if just one live test goes horribly wrong, the backlash would be immediate. Public trust in high-speed rail, shattered, investors, gone, government officials, fired or worse. And here's the deeper risk, the ripple effect. If China's Maglev attempt crashes and burns, it could set back Maglev development worldwide by decades. Other countries would freeze funding, politicians would call it a waste. Media would paint it as another failed, futuristic toy. Think about the Concorde, the supersonic plane that once symbolized the future. One crash, and the dream died. Same thing could happen here. And let's not forget China's domestic audience. The country has built its reputation on world-class infrastructure, on doing what others can't. If the Maglev project ends in flames, literally or financially, it won't just be a technical failure. It'll be a national embarrassment. That's why everything is so secretive right now. Most of the real data, still classified, The test sites, restricted access, the progress carefully curated? Because the truth is, they're still not sure it'll work. And if it doesn't, billions ride on this, and one failure could kill the dream forever. So let's bring it down to earth. Your world, your life. If China's Maglev becomes reality, it won't just be some futuristic tech on the other side of the world. It will start to change the way you think about everything. Your home, your job, your schedule, even your relationships. Let's imagine a world where this kind of travel becomes normal. You live in a small town, you work in a major city. Right now, that means long commutes, maybe even relocating for better opportunities. But what if that entire trip, say 500 kilometers, took just 30 minutes? Suddenly, geography doesn't matter. People could live hundreds of kilometers away from where they work, in quieter, cheaper, more beautiful places, and still make it to the office faster than someone stuck in city traffic. Now flip that. What happens to real estate prices in places that are currently too far from the city? They explode. Commute zones expand. Small towns become suburbs. Property markets shift overnight. And it's not just jobs. Think about relationships. Your partner lives in another city. You could grab coffee in the morning and be back home before lunch. Long-distance dating becomes mid-distance dating. Families separated by cities suddenly reconnect. Tourism changes too. Want to have dinner in a city 400 kilometers away? Just hop on the Maglev. People will start thinking regionally, not locally. A person living in one country could realistically work or study in another. And what about business? Companies no longer need to be based in one megacity. They could operate in clusters linked by high-speed routes. Entire economic zones could rise, built around these new transit lines. Even job markets evolve. Skilled workers aren't trapped by location. Remote work and high-speed travel could create a hybrid lifestyle we haven't even imagined yet. But here's the real question. Would you change how you live if your commute was 15 minutes from anywhere? It's not just a train, it's the future of where you live, work, and love. Step back now, zoom out. This train, this 1,000 kilometers per hour marvel, isn't happening in isolation. It's part of a much larger pattern, the acceleration of everything. AI is rewriting how we work. Smart cities are changing how we live. Spaceports, drones, vertical farming, the world is being re-architected in real time. And now, transportation is catching up. Trains like these are just the beginning. If we can move people at 1,000 kilometers per hour on land, what's next? 3,000 kilometers per hour through tubes? Suborbital rockets taking us across the planet in an hour? We're talking about spaceport-style terminals, ultra-fast intercontinental commuting, cities that span continents, not just coastlines. But that acceleration comes with a cost. Because while the tech speeds up, human systems, laws, infrastructure, ethics, are still crawling. What happens when society can't keep up? What happens when only some people can afford speed and others are left behind? What happens when new cities rise and old ones die? And maybe the biggest question of all, are we emotionally ready to live in a world where nothing is far anymore? Because the Maglev isn't just a machine, it's a mirror. It shows us where we're heading, fast, whether we're ready or not. So are we truly ready, or are we racing toward a future we can't control? Let's rewind for a second. We started this journey with a single image, a train floating silently on magnets, moving faster than sound, slicing through the land like a needle through silk. It sounds like sci-fi, but it's not. It's real. It's happening. And it's coming faster than most people realize. China's 1,000 km/h Maglev train is more than a technological flex. It's more than a transportation upgrade. It's a signpost, one that says, the world you knew is gone. Because in this new world, distance is dead. A city 800 kilometers away, that's your next job market. A home 2 hours from downtown, that's your new commute. A flight across the country, that's your lunch meeting. This is not just a new kind of train, it's a new kind of life. But like all revolutions, it comes with risks, massive ones. The cost is astronomical. The engineering, borderline insane. The health concerns, still unresolved. The politics, more like a Cold War with magnets and patents. And the social shockwaves? We haven't even scratched the surface. Because once you eliminate time and distance, everything else starts to shift. Where people live, who gets rich, who gets left behind, how cities grow or disappear. The 1000 km/h Maglev isn't just moving people, it's moving history. This is why so many world powers are watching, not just to copy, but to compete. Because the country that dominates high-speed transit will set the tone for the next 100 years of economic power, trade, and influence. It's not just a train, it's a claim. A statement that says, we're building the future, and we're not waiting for permission. So now the question flips back to us. To you, to me, to all of us watching this unfold. Because this technology isn't waiting. It's coming. And when it arrives, it will ask us something no one's truly prepared to answer. Are we ready? Ready to rethink where we live, how we work, who we love, what we're willing to pay for speed, and what we lose in the process? Some will say no, that it's too soon, too fast, too dangerous, but others, they'll look at the glowing tube, the levitating capsule, the map that no longer matters, and they'll say, let's go. Because the future isn't a destination, it's a velocity, and China's already on board. So the real question is, are we truly ready, or are we racing toward a future we can't control?